to do similar style, except with the narrow side as the hood. Now this one, the narrow side stretches out more, but it's the super extra bulky version is more loosely knit on those giant needles. So when it stretches out, it's going to be more of a lacy kind of hood, not super waterproof. So do the same way of this time folding the narrow side down. Oh, but this time, because it's extra big, I'm going to do this slightly differently. I'm going to fold it down all the way so the narrow side lines up to the bottom of the wide side. But then I'm only going to lace it from the top down to where the wide side. Okay, so here's the wide side of the L is here. The narrow side is folded over. The bottom of the narrow side is lined up with the long end of the wide side. I'm going to lace it from the top, which will be the top of the hood, down to this line, where the inner corner of the L curves here. Okay, so I lace it down right here. It's about halfway down. That's going to be my hood. I have it loose on either side on the bottom. So this loose end of the narrow edge can kind of wrap around and go in front. And then the wide side of the L, got this big scarf basically that you can now wrap around. And it can just hang loose like that. Or you can have the narrow end here on top and you can fasten them together. So in this case I have these ties, I can just tie them together. So however you want to do it, secure them so that the two ends together. This is the corner of the L down here. It's a little bit weird, but it works. It stays on as a cowl. You got the hood that put down when you don't need it. When you need it, put it up. You can put it more over your face if it's super cold. And use the ties to tie it on. If you put lots of buttons or ties all over your piece, then when you're wrapping it around, you'll have lots of different options for ways to fasten it to itself. Right, now I'll do that same method with the standard bulky large size. Now this method isn't going to work with the bulky small size because the narrow end is way too narrow to work as a hood, but with the larger size, you can use either side as a hood. So you have more options. I'm going to do the same thing, folding the narrow side over. Here's the narrow end folded over, lined up with the wide long side. I'm seaming up just like a shoelace, and with seaming the narrow hood, making the narrow side into a hood, you don't have to worry about the ribs lining up with each other, but you should worry about it not bunching up one way or the other. So I'm going through every other hole. So I'm skipping one hole and going through the next hole, all the way down like a shoelace, so it'll line up evenly with itself. Okay, and I'm stopping now because it's approximately lined up with where the L starts there, or the wide side, where the edge hits. Okay, so here's the back of the hood, and now I have it hanging on both sides. The narrow side hanging loose, and then the wide side going off in the L. And now the ribbing can kind of make it go further back on the head or pull forward when you use the narrow side. Okay, so the end of the narrow side hangs here. And now we have the big wide side that can be like a giant scarf to wrap around. It can be extra warm or down. And it can just all hang loose like that. Or you can use ties or buttons or laces or whatever to fasten it. In this case, I already have these buttons on the wide end here, so I can use these buttons to fasten it to the corner of the L, which is hanging right here. Or another way you can do it is leave the narrow end on the outside, bring that underneath and around. And now that this is the narrow end, which is coming off of the hood. And now this can fasten to the buttons here of the wide end. Maybe like that way. So leave that down and bring the wide side across and fasten it to the side of the narrow end. That'll hold it on nice and snug, not too tight. And now the narrow side of the hood makes the hood more shallow, as you can see, but because of the ribbing you can kind of tug it. So if it's raining and you want to tug it more, you can just pull it and make it bigger. And if it's not raining and want to get it up off your face, just kind of squish the ribbing, get it off your face like that. Or this way can be worn more loose by just kind of slinging it around your neck and letting it hang more. Or you can like button this to the inner corner of the L right here maybe, just to hold it around, but it's looser. You can play around with different ways. If you're not using the hood, you just have a scarf, cowl kind of thing. Pull it up when you need it. So that's several different ways to wear it as a hood, or to lace it or button it as a hood. I'll be done with laces or buttons or permanent seams or whatever you want to do. Now, because the piece is so versatile, you can play around with other ways to wear it as a hood too. I'm sure you can come up with other ways. The basic idea, of course, is just to fold the sides over and fasten it to itself to turn it into a hood shape. You can do that in different ways. Just kind of drape it around yourself in different ways and find a way that you like, and then do the seam or the button to make it stay put.